Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to Ashley Thomas about signs. But first, Donna and I are talking about all the newest stuff. How's it going, Donna?
Yeah, it's going okay, Robert. We're both feeling kind of rough today, but
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little stuffy. So,
yeah, you're definitely going to hear it in my voice. My voice is a little ragged today. Um, but other than that, it's going well. We're getting closer to the Ember months, and I'm like super excited. Like any of
yeah,
Burr, September, October, those are my favorite. That's my favorite time of year. So if I can just get through the dog days of August, I'll
yeah.
be okay.
We're already a little over halfway now, so that's good. We're getting
Yeah,
closer.
super excited.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I barely have anything today. I'll talk about a new TV show and a movie I saw this last week. But other than that, I don't have anything. I don't have any trailers. I don't have anything overly interesting to talk about.
No, you leave that to me.
Um,
I have a couple of trailers and a couple of things
yeah.
to talk about. So,
Actually, I just thought of a Humble Bundle that just
oh,
came out.
cool.
So we'll talk about that as
I
well.
always love when you talk about those.
Yeah. So. All right. Let me go ahead and kick it off. Let me talk about the movie that I went to go see. It's not a horror movie. I went to go see the movie Nobody 2,
Oh, how
which is the
fun was
sequel to the
that?
original. Yeah, it's the sequel to the original Nobody. This one, it was interesting too because the first movie was the Nobody movies are produced by David Leitch, who's more famously known as a director these days, and he directs a lot of um, crazy action flicks because he's a
Hmm.
former stuntman. He did Bullet Train, and most recently he did The Fall Guy. But so he produces stuff also, and so the first one, the first what's it called? Nobody movie was a vehicle for um, Bob Odenkirk, who I guess helped come up with the story
Hmm.
because he actually had a couple of home invasions. Um, and he wanted to kind of take that experience and kind of like, redo it, I guess, in a way, like be the tough guy that he wanted to be
Right.
in those. But so the original movie was directed by Ilya Naishuller, who I don't recognize any of the work he had done before that. Um, let's see. Oh, I guess he had done Hardcore Henry before that, which is like a first person
Oh, right.
shooter
I remember that
style
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
I know that didn't do well. But then he so he's not the one who directed the sequel. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Timo Giganto, um, who you will know from May the Devil Take You.
Hmm.
Um, and so which is a movie you recommended to me.
Yes.
Um, and so he yeah, so I was surprised when I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." He's well known for his action uh films, including his horror stuff that's very action heavy. So that was an interesting thing about it. I will say it's fairly by the books, and so was the original Nobody. They're good movies. They're very solid. They you kind of feel like they could exist in the uh, John Wick universe in a
Hmm.
way. They're both written by Derek Kolstad, who was the original creator of John Wick as well, um, and worked on the first three movies as the writer. Um, but yeah, this movie's pretty good. I mean, it's got some interesting people in it. Colin Hanks plays a bad guy sheriff in a town, which is interesting. But Sharon Stone plays the ultimate bad guy in this movie. And I didn't recognize her at all in it. And it was like when her name popped up at the end, I was like, "Who is this lady?" the whole time. And then when her name popped up at the end, I was like, "Oh, okay,
Oh,
that
wow.
makes sense." Yeah. So, because in the movie, I mean, if you've seen the trailers and stuff like that, she's wearing sunglasses a lot and she's got this slick back hair and everything. So it didn't click with me. because she just looks kind of different, and I haven't seen her in a whole lot. I mean,
Right.
to be fair. So, but anyway, but yeah, so it's a good movie. Um, I think it's a pretty solid action flick. It goes, pretty heavy. It's a hard R-rated action movie. So lots of blood and guts and cursing and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of stuff and you like the original movie, I think it's a good movie. I think it's worth going and seeing if you're into that kind of stuff. So, but
Well, I was hoping it would be fun, so I'm glad that it held up,
yeah.
its own to the first film, so that's good.
Yeah, I actually it was so funny too because I forgot to watch the first movie before I went to go see the
Mhm.
second movie, so I didn't remember the first movie hardly at all. And so I went watched the second movie, enjoyed it, and then came home and I don't know if it was the same night or if it was the next night. It was after that, but I watched the original again, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't remember." Like I did not remember both Christopher Lloyd and the RZA both being in the original movie, but they're both in the new movie. So I was just like, "Oh, okay." Like I totally had forgotten most of what happened in that first movie.
Right.
So not that it was not memorable, but just because my brain is
It just
Swiss
slipped your
cheese.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, geez, we watch a lot of movies. It's hard to
We
keep
do.
track of everything,
Well,
you know?
that was the thing too, is like I was recently I was adding some stuff to my Goodreads, like reviews to my Goodreads on books I've been reading. And so I was going back through that and I was like looking at the stuff that I'd already previously reviewed. And I was like, I don't even remember reviewing these books. Like it's been so long that since I've read those and I was like, what actually happened in these? I was like,
Mhm.
man, my brain does not hold on to information at all, like barely at all.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so because I read so much and I watch so much, watch so many movies and TV shows and everything else that yeah, it's hard to keep it all in there. Which, to be fair, like I know that there's a lot of people who watch a lot of stuff and they do retain a lot of knowledge and so they do remember a lot of stuff. For me, I'm kind of glad that I don't remember everything because then when I go back for a rewatch or a reread and everything like that, it's not unless I've seen it a ton, I'm not going to remember that much about
Mhm.
it. And so it makes it fresh again for me. So I like being able to do that and uh it's not too much as long as I don't go see them, quickly right after the other. Then at least things are fresh again for me. So anyway, so that all being said, Nobody Two is a good movie. Go check it out. And that's all I got for that. What's your first thing?
So my first thing is something that's already aired on Netflix if you have that streaming service, and it's an R-rated animated movie called Fixed. Um,
Hmm.
I was a little shocked by it because I didn't think I was gonna like it. I didn't think it was gonna be funny, but it was
Right.
hilarious. Oh my God. And basically this film, it was created by Jendi Tartakovsky, I believe it's his last name. He's done a lot of animation that my kids used to watch on Cartoon Network, Dexter's
Yeah.
Laboratory, Samurai Jack. He did the Star Wars Clone Wars. And this story, Fixed, is all about exactly what it sounds like. There is a dog who is a little too randy and he is going to be fixed. And so his other dog friends decide to take him on one last hurrah before he's completely neutered. And it is insane. It's just the funniest film you'll ever see about dogs and what they do, especially at night. It's like a more perverted Lady and the Tramp. That's basically what this movie is. But it's got some really good voice actors. It's got Adam Devine, Idris Elba is one of the dogs, and he cracked me up the whole time. Catherine Hahn, Fred Armisen, Bobby Monaheim. It's definitely not for kids. It's definitely for adults. Just don't watch this with your kids if you have any. But it's just a lot of fun, and it did come out August 13th. So it's already on Netflix if you have, once again, have that streaming service and you don't mind raunchy humor. It's just like any TNA film that you would watch, but with animated dogs. And I I really did not think that I would like this, but I would really appreciate more adult humor with animals doing these kind of things. It's not The Secret Life of Pets. I mean, it is and it isn't, you know? Um, but it's raunchy humor. So I grew up in the
Right.
era of raunchy humor and I thoroughly enjoyed this and clearly this director did too because it's spot on. But that's something I just watched recently. Because sometimes, we see a lot of stuff on the news and everything's so heavy-handed, and this was exactly what I
Right.
needed to decompress over the weekend.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. Yeah, I love a good raunchy comedy when you can find one that uh like this. I'm as you're talking, I'm like looking at the trailer and trying to. It definitely looks like it's very silly.
What's so
So
great about it is I think, Sony Pictures Animation made this, put it out, and it's their first adult animated film, and I think it's actually their first traditionally animated film. So that's kind of a hoot for me that Sony put this
yeah,
out.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad to see stuff like that. It's weird. They don't seem to have as much like in the way of a raunchy comedy anymore. I
Mhm.
do think that it's fallen out of favor. But it is nice to see that there is something, even if it's just on streaming, that they are somewhere. So so it's good to see. All right. Well, the next thing I want to talk about is hopefully something you've watched this last week. The new Alien Earth show popped up on Hulu this last week.
You better
Did you
believe I
watch the?
watched that. Of
I was
course
gonna
I
say, I hope you watched it. I didn't watch the two episodes until like maybe the day or so afterward, may have been
Mhm.
the second day afterward. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It definitely felt steeped in the alien universe. This is set 2 years before the events of the first movie.
Mhm.
Um, so humans are encountering the xenomorph, earlier than we knew. But it introduces a lot of new stuff into it as well, including the five corporations that rule the world, um, and it's not just the xenomorph in this thing because this ship, because the premise is a ship run by Weyland Yutani,
Mhm.
very similar to the ship in the first movie, is heading back to Earth. And ends up crashing on Earth because this is a specimen ship. And some of the specimens have gotten loose, and they're not just xenomorphs. There's other also bad
Mhm.
ass, like creepy ass aliens in there. So definitely an interesting show. But it also wrestles with the implications of this new type of synthetic that are called hybrids, and they're
Mhm.
basically human consciousness embedded into synthetic bodies. Um, so I'm very, very interested in where this goes because it's not. I like that it's not just about, oh, there's xenomorphs on Earth.
Mhm.
It's other creatures and, like I said, the implications of this new synthetic technology.
That's one of the things that made me super excited when I was watching it, that we got to see these other specimens and to see that they are also equally as deadly. Um,
Hmm.
I was creeped out and it was so much fun. The hybrid aspect of these human consciousness being instilled in these synthetic bodies, the fact that we have cyborgs because they've never even mentioned cyborgs before.
Yeah.
Um, I everything about the show, well, you already know, I was already gonna be gaga over it anyway, but Noah Hawley, there's just something about his writing, the way he uses music, the way that he incorporates these stories, and I am gonna be, like, ass in seat every Tuesday. I can't miss this. I literally cannot miss this.
Well, he's actually acting in it as well, briefly. He is the father of the kids in the flashback sequences.
Mhm.
So um, yeah, I found that interesting. Yeah, no, it for somebody like me who's not a hardcore Alien person, I've enjoyed the movies that I've seen.
Mhm.
Um, I think that it is that it holds up really well. They've got the technology down. I like that they've done this little mixture of because like that was the thing. I mean, you got to remember the first Alien movie was created in what the late 70s, 79.
Mhm.
And you know, so technology at that time was more analog looking.
Right.
So they've kind of held to that, but they also have kind of updated it a little bit to, you know, not seem as outdated. And so
Yeah.
I like that like the aesthetic is looks like that, but then their touch screens and stuff like that. You know, that was one of the things that I really appreciated was that um there was at least um a move towards updating things with while also holding to the original ideas.
Yeah, you can tell
So,
he's really a fan because it does feel very cohesive. It doesn't feel like it's out of place, with these little
right,
touches and tweaks that he's added. So yeah, I'm so glad that you watched it. I feel like this is a show that's accessible to people who aren't really huge fans of the Alien franchise because
right.
this is its own tale of, what's going on. And like you already said, we've got other creatures in the mix as well. So that adds a kind of element to surprise because there were a couple they showed that we didn't get to see exactly what they do when they,
Hmm.
take over people or how they eat or what their whole thing is. So yeah,
Yeah,
this
I'm
was a
sure
lot
that'll
of
be
fun.
coming.
Oh yeah, you better believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think that you know you would be best served if you've seen the first two Alien movies. And that's all you would need to watch to really get the feel of the Alien universe before you watch this.
Mhm.
I think at the very least before you watch this you need to watch the first one.
Yeah.
Um and that would be all you need. I think one the first movie is essential. One and two would give you a flavor for the whole world and the Wailing Utani of it all and everything, and then jump in. But you know, I don't think you have to watch. You don't have to watch the whole series.
Mm-mm.
There's
Not at
definitely
all.
nothing from definitely nothing from Prometheus or Covenant that are being referenced. I know that they said they're kind of basically ignoring that stuff. They're not ignoring that it's like part of the history. They're just not going to reference it.
Mhm.
So, um, but yeah, so it's just definitely a fun, enjoyable show. Timothy Oliphant killing it as always.
Mhm.
So, uh, but yeah, I just and the whole cast is like diverse as hell, and I love that. And very interesting. There's this whole thing
The
going on between
Neverland aspect.
yeah, between the boy genius that's there, and then you've got our first time seeing an actual person named Utani
Utani.
in the series. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
very,
they've got
very, very interesting.
the whole turf war between them
Yeah,
and, the specimens, but I really like the Neverland aspect of Wendy and this now group of lost boys that are going
yes,
into the city to do what they're doing. I don't wanna give too much away about that, but
yeah, yeah,
it's
exactly.
really, I'm over the moon for it, and I'm glad it's only 8 episodes, so it's not gonna be a very long
Yeah,
season. That's always a good sign too. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm glad that you watched it. I was actually gonna bring that up, but I'm glad that you brought it up.
All right. Well, what is your next thing?
So my next thing also is I've been low on horror. I do have a couple of horror things, but this is not one of them. This is a trailer that is out for a movie called Marty Supreme that is an A24 film directed by Josh Safdie, one half of the Safdie brothers. And it really is about the world of pro table tennis or ping pong or however you want to call it. Um, it's not based on anybody real, but Timothy Chalamet is in it. We've got Gwyneth Paltrow, my one of my favorite artists, Tyler the Creator, who's actually going by his name, Tyler Okoma. He's in this film, and it's set like around the 19, it looks like 1950s maybe. But Timothy Chalamet's character wants to be the superstar of this table tennis world, and
Right.
it looks interesting. It looks like it's going to be one of those probably heavily Oscar touted movies, but it just
Yeah.
has a great kind of underdog story feel to it, and looks kind of fantastical. Um, we've got also somebody who was in this trailer that I did not expect to see, which is Fran Drescher from The Nanny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
um,
Odessa Azion is in it
oh
as
yeah, I
well.
forgot about
So
her. Yeah, she's
yeah,
I love her so much, and she
me
looks
too.
completely different in this movie.
Yeah,
I almost didn't recognize her until I went back and looked at the trailer again. But this isn't going to be out until I think Christmas is when it's supposed to be making its debut. But it just looks like a lot of fun. Pretty much anything the Safdie brothers do, Uncut Gems, I'm here for all of that. And it's going to be interesting because both of the siblings have their own movie that's coming out on A24. I think Benny
yeah,
Safdie is doing The Smashing Machine with The Rock. So
yeah.
there's going to be some Oscar Oscar buzz, I'm sure, on both of these films. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top if they are, kind of against each other.
Yeah, yeah, from what I read not too long ago, is that the Safdies are no longer working together. So
That's
they
so
are,
terrible.
yeah, so they've kind of went off on their own. I'm not sure if they had some kind of falling out or what, but they decided yeah, they're not going to be the Safdie brothers anymore when it comes to working together. So, I mean, it's kind of what happened to the Cohen brothers as
Hmm.
well. Um, so I think there just comes a time where you're just like, okay, yeah, we want to break out on our own and do something else. I did, part of the only reason why I knew that is because I was looking up Benny Safdie, because he was recently in Happy Gilmore 2, which I watched.
No.
Um, and he plays a character, major character in that movie. So I was like, okay, well, what is this? What is their whole deal? And so uh, I that's when I went to Wikipedia as I
Hmm.
do, and I looked up everything, and they were like, yeah, they don't work together anymore. I was like, oh, so I don't know if they had a falling out or what, but kind of sounds like it. But yeah, no, I did see the trailer for Marty Supreme. I thought it looked mildly interesting. I'm not a big Chalamet fan. Um, I can give or take him.
I like
Um,
him okay. I mean, I like him in the
he's
Dune movies. I'm
eh,
not like his biggest whatever.
yeah, yeah, but it did look mildly interesting. It's definitely probably not something I'm ever gonna watch. Um, just because most of the cast is okay, but nothing. I'm like, oh, I gotta go see this. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, Odessa Azion is the only one I would be even remotely interested in seeing because I liked her in um, Until Dawn and the
The
newest Hellraiser
Hellraiser.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's popped up in a couple of episodes of the U.S. version of Ghosts on Paramount Plus.
Hmm.
It's a hilarious show. If you haven't watched that show, go check that out. Um, but she pops up as this ghost of this girl who was killed on her prom night, and she's during the 80s, and so she's got this big 80s hair and this like um, big 80s prom dress and everything, so it's pretty funny. So but yeah, yeah, all right. Well, I only have one more thing. I have a humble bundle that just recently came out the other day for this this comic book company called Distillery. It's Dstly. There's no extra vowels. They cut out all the vowels. Um, but uh, but they do like what they do is they make highly collectible comic books with like short print runs. Um, and even their digital books, the comics have varying print run sizes, so you can even like resell your digital comics as well. It's kind of a weird thing. They're kind of creating a scarcity on digital things, which is weird because it's like I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna work it out. But it just feels like, okay, I'm not buying somebody else's weird digital book just because it has a different cover on it. But anyway, but that being said, they put out a Humble Bundle. There's lots of interesting creators who are doing books with them,
Mhm.
like James Tynion, and Jamie McKelvey. I know most of these names aren't going to mean anything to anybody, but they they've got a lot of different big name creators coming over and doing some books with them. Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo, who did 100 Bullets together for Vertigo, they're over there doing a book. Just lots of different people. And so what you get in this bundle is you get normally I would say go out and jump and grab these books because they're normally DRM free PDFs or comic book zip files that you can read on any device at any time you want.
Right.
This one, I give you a bit of caution on this one because you can only read these through their online app. Um, so just know that going in that you don't have as clear access. Basically, it kind of sucks that they're supposedly working on making things DRM free or offline at the very least. But right now, yeah, you have to definitely have an internet connection and read it on their online app, on their web app. So it's not even a separate app. You have to read it through Chrome or whatever your
Mhm.
browser is. Um, but that being said, the books are have high praise. I haven't read any of them yet, but I did end up getting the bundle myself too because I've heard good things about them and wanted to check them out. So, um, but it runs the gamut of different genres and stuff like that. But it's independent work, so definitely check it out if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you don't mind the kind of um the wonky way you have to read it. Um, so,
That's really cool.
uh,
I'm, like, looking through their catalog now. They have, like, a lot of really cool horror comics too.
yeah, yeah, they've got some nice horror stuff, some fantasy. What is it? I'm trying to think. Chip Zdarsky has done a book. Um, Mirka Andolfo has done one. They're just all kinds of people who've done these. You know, really well-known independent people. I mean, Chip Zdarsky just finished a Batman run, so and a Daredevil run. He's been doing high-profile stuff for a while, but most people will probably know Chip Zdarsky from his own creator work that he did the artwork on the book Sex Criminals over at Image. So,
I love
but
that comic.
yeah, Sex Criminals is hilarious. But yeah, no, definitely go check it out if you like that stuff. I'm a sucker for pretty much almost any comic book bundle, so I like to pass it on, let people know about them when they pop up. What's your next thing?
Okay, so my next thing, I think I brought this to you either last week or the week before we talked about Good Boy, which is the horror movie that is
Yes.
from the viewpoint of the doggo. And they actually have a trailer that is released.
Oh, good.
And my goodness, this movie, I was just sitting here trying to think, how are they really going to do this? But watching this trailer, it makes perfect sense to see this dog going through the gambit of emotions. I've never seen an animal emote as well as a human. And from what I understand or what I've read, it took them 4 years to make this movie because, they didn't wanna
Wow.
put the dog through too much stress and, uh
Yeah.
but it grabs you right from the intro in this trailer. He hears a knocking on the door, and then you see a shadowy figure, and the dog is barking, and you're just like, Yeah, this is definitely gonna work. This is gonna be interesting." There are human characters in this film, it's not just the dog, but it is told primarily from that dog's viewpoint. And it looks like it's gonna be an unusual horror film, but I think it's gonna be one that we're all gonna love. Just spoiler alert ahead, they said that the dog does not die, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm just gonna throw that out there for anybody that's squeamish or is like, "Oh my god, I don't want the dog to die." He doesn't die. They've already said that that's not gonna happen.
Good, good.
But it actually is the director's own dog that is the star of this film. So,
Oh, that's good.
definitely, yeah, definitely check this trailer out. I feel like I'm gonna be very invested watching this because this poor dog is gonna be going through it like a live
Well,
action Courage the Cowardly Dog or something.
I'm glad you mentioned that the trailer was finally out because like when you mentioned it last week or the week before, whenever it was, I went
Mhm,
to look for the trailer. Um, but all I could find was stuff that looked like it was fake trailers.
mhm.
And so I was like, I don't know what's going on. But this one you said I just looked it up. Um, this trailer, official trailer from IFC Films, came out an hour ago. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, then good. I know that it's a real trailer finally.
Right.
So I'll know that I can
And I
finally
think
check
it's
that
coming
out.
out, October 3rd or sometime in October, so I'm sure that IFC will have it and, I mean, not IFC, but AMC Plus and Shudder probably will have
Better,
it at
yeah.
some point. Um, and then the last teaser trailer I have, which actually feels more like a trailer than a teaser, is, Oz Perkins' new teaser
Mm,
for Keeper is out, and I gotta tell you, this looks really good. I mean, it's Oz Perkins, what am I
yeah.
saying? But,
I saw this
um,
one in the theater. So
yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting because we get it from the perspective of the woman in the relationship, and then we also get it from the perspective of the male in the relationship, and they're saying the exact same lines, but for some reason, both seem very ominous, and
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but I am ready to go and see this movie.
I'm telling you, yeah, there's something going on. Yeah. I definitely yeah, I don't know what's going on in this trailer, but Tatiana Maslany, that it's she's the main actress in this and it
Mhm.
looks very, very interesting. So I'm excited to check this one out. Yeah, Osgood Perkins the last few have been like he's firing on all cylinders
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So I think he's finally found his groove. So
But
yeah,
that's all I had for this week. I'm glad
all
that
right,
we
cool.
had a little bit more than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I think yeah, it's definitely yeah, uh turned out to be not too thin of a week.
Not too skimpy.
I'm glad you found a couple of things that I didn't know about. So
Yeah.
um which is always great. So all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on as always. Before we move on to the rest of the show, why don't you let everyone know what you've got going on your show this week?
So, yeah, Alien Earth. I wanted to give it's very short. It's a very short minisode just to talk about what I love about this show and how I feel like it's gonna go. But and just tout the reasons why I think you should give the show a whirl. That's pretty much what my episode is about this week.
All right, cool. All right, sounds good. Okay. Well, why I everybody stay tuned to listen to Ashley Thomas and I talk about science. And until next week, stay creepy. On today's episode, Ashley Thomas returns to the show to talk about M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. Ashley is a writer at fangirlish.com and host of podcast 616, We Are Starfleet, Mission Log Genealogy, and the Video Store podcast. Welcome back to the show, Ashley.
Hey, Robert. Thank you for having me back on, dude.
Yeah, always glad to have you on. I was gonna say, how do you have time with all those other podcasts and everything else you do?
Well, see, my body hates sleep. So, I mean, right now, maybe going on about 4.5, 5. So,
Yeah, that's
you
what I
know,
used to do too.
yeah, I mean, 6 is about the max I can get a night. So, not terrible. Had a hard time getting to sleep. I was asleep for a little bit, woke up for a couple hours, then went back to sleep and slept really, really hard, and then stayed in bed way too long this morning. So,
That's funny.
yeah. So, anyway, but happy to be talking about signs with you today, dude.
Yeah.
This is a favorite of mine. It is actually my third favorite film of all time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we'll
So,
definitely dig into that. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the movie when it originally came out. Um, and it still holds up pretty well. It's interesting too because this came out in 2002
mhm.
and they were filming when 9/11 happened.
Mm.
And there's a moment in the movie, and we'll get to it, that they filmed the day after 9/11 happened.
Oh.
And um, so this is kind of an interesting movie, because of the timing of it. It came out, like I said, in 2002, like I believe in August. So not quite a full year later.
Mhm.
But when reading up on this, it people were um saying that this was like one of the first movies to kind of have like I don't know, some positivity to it, that came out directly afterward. And so, there was a it helped, in a lot of ways. It helped, with the way this article put it. It basically just kind of helped the public not move on, but to help process a little bit better than some of the other stuff that had come out,
Sure.
up until that point. And in this one, it has no direct connections to 9/11 or anything like that. It has nothing to do with the story or the events or anything like that. Um, but yeah, this it's a movie about a family that has to deal with an alien invasion. Um, and I like that, um the basically the conceit is you don't ever step away from that family. You don't see what the
Mm.
governments are doing, you don't see what other people are doing. It's just their perspective only. And so when they know something, you know something.
Mhm.
And so you don't know anything about what's going on in the world until they do. Which I found fascinating, because it's interesting to have it limited like that. And it's a bold choice because other filmmakers would have, oh no, we need all this exposition and everything else, that extra stuff. But they do a good job at, Shyamalan does a good job at keeping it contained and dealing with this family's fears, and either even them not getting obsessed with watching the news, like they say.
Mhm.
But for you, when did you see this first? How did you come to it, and how did it become your third favorite movie of all time?
Sure. So, um, my mother picked up a used copy of this film at our local Hastings. I don't know if you had Hastings near
We had
you.
Hastings in New Mexico, so I'm
Perfect.
very
Yeah.
familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah, R.I.P. Hastings. I miss them.
Right.
But the Hastings was one of my favorite places to go in our tiny town because they had a massive movie collection, for both,
Oh yeah.
rent and purchase. And so my mom had went there and she had picked up a few movies because they were having like a good used movie sale. This was not terribly long after we got a DVD player. So she picked up copies of Signs and The Fellowship of the Ring, and I think one other film that I never really watched. I think something that I think it was like maybe Master and Commander or something like that. My dad was really into that.
Yeah.
So anyway, my mother, one does not pay attention to the news, so I don't think she'd be very keen on the idea that Mel Gibson is anti-Semite.
Yeah.
But all my mother knows is that Mel Gibson is very handsome, and therefore she's had a crush on him since like Lethal Weapon,
Right.
or maybe earlier. I don't know. So anyway, my mom's like, "Oh, I love Mel Gibson. Let's get this movie." And this is not like a movie my mom would have picked up. She's not a super huge sci-fi person, definitely not a horror person.
Right.
But she's like, oh, Mel Gibson is in this. It's well rated. Let's go. So my senior year of high school, so this would have been fall of 2002. My high school was shut down for 2 months almost in fall semester of my senior year because there was a massive mold problem in the
Oh
school,
wow.
and a lot of kids were getting sick. They had to, so school was just shut down. And this was, before the days of virtual learning,
Right. Yeah.
right? So we had to really buckle down, and like basically any other like days off or whatever, or snow days were almost a non-existent thing the rest of the school year because we had 2 months
Right.
off in the middle of the fall. So I was in the marching band, and 2 days a week we would go to school, and we would be outside the whole day, and we would do band practice the entire day. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was doing that all day. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, my sister and I, it was basically a race to see who woke up first and either took control of the TV or took control of the computer that day. It was one of the two. So if I had the control of the TV, we were either watching The Fellowship of the Ring or we were watching Signs. Because I fracking love both of those. And if I had laundry to do, Signs was like, I don't know how this came to be, but Signs was my default movie to put on. And I would watch Signs and fold laundry. To this day, when I'm watching Signs, I feel like I should be folding laundry. So
That's so funny.
anyway, so this was just a movie that we had at our house. This is before streaming.
Yeah.
This one, we didn't have any of the premium movie channels, so it wasn't like I ran across this was on TV, but we had a used copy of the DVD,
Yeah.
and I just fell in love with the movie. I was not a horror fan at the time, but I did like sci-fi. And watching this movie over and over again, it really gave me a flavor for cinematography.
Hmm.
There's another movie I could talk about that really helped me learn how to read a scene. And that's Josie and the Pussycats from 2001. It was another movie that I watched on repeat during this time, in the time
Right.
of mold. Um, but this this particular film, it taught me cinematography, and it taught me how to show don't tell
Hmm.
in recognizing that in a film. But I love the score. I love the questions that this film makes me ask. I love how thoughtful it is, and I love that no matter which side of the argument you come down on, I mean, you have the big line, are you someone who sees signs and wonders, or do you think this is all just here by chance? I
Right.
think no matter which side you come down on, the film is very hopeful, and
Yes.
you can have flavors of both. That's one thing I was thinking about while watching that today, is like, I think I'm maybe a bit of both. you
Yeah.
know? But anyway, I love this movie. It made me an M. Night fan. And to this day, no matter how bad some of his more recent, and I say more recent, really, I honestly have only found like a couple of M. Night films that I just didn't like.
Right.
But I'm always willing to give him a shot, and it's because
Yeah.
of this film. So,
No, I get that. Yeah, I became a fan from Sixth Sense on.
mm.
So
I
I've
actually
been
saw
a
this first. This was my
yeah,
first movie of his I ever watched. I didn't
that's
see The Sixth
funny.
Sense until after this. So,
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I think that the his movies have, like, there's only three that one that I don't care to revisit, and I've already mentioned it on the show before, but I don't
hmm,
care to revisit The Happening.
yeah, same.
And I have no desire to see either The Last Airbender or After Earth. Pretty much everything else I'm on board for. Even some of his most recent things that have been uneven, I still think that there's value in them.
Hmm.
Um, and they can you can enjoy watching them even if it's just one time. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting, what you said about rewatching this movie over and over again like that. That's yeah, that's what we did. When we because that's we used to have a very big movie collection. I still have a very big movie collection, but it's
Same.
it's changed over the years. Um, the like physical movie collection. Um, and even I still have a very big digital even bigger movie digital movie collection. Um, because we tend to buy things through what used to be called Voodoo, which is now Fandango at home.
Right.
Because yes, we know we're not really owning it on digital, but I haven't ever had from the time that, as far as I know, nothing that I've bought on Fandango Voodoo has disappeared.
Hmm.
They generally, and to be fair, I mean, Fandango could fold at any time and take all of that away. I know that that would suck, but some of that other stuff is now also shared through movies anywhere and everything. It's a whole complicated thing,
Sure.
um, but that's what we used to do. We used to watch a lot of, but in the days before streaming, um, you could watch a lot of stuff, and I still do to an extent. Like whenever I'm going to sleep, I tend to turn something on that I've seen multiple times, so I have something in the background. I have a hard time sleeping otherwise. If there's no sound, something for my brain to latch onto, then my
Hmm.
brain won't stop thinking long
Yep.
enough for me to actually go to sleep.
Feel that.
Um,
Feel that.
yeah, it's been like that since I was a kid.
Mm.
And so I dull the noise with something that my brain can latch onto. And then so yeah, so in the days before streaming, you would just tend to watch the same things over and over again, whatever was in your collection.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, no, I definitely the Shyamalan movies got heavy rotation because I really have always enjoyed those, and for the exact same reasons you're talking about, cinematography, story, the music. James Newton Howard has scored all of his films from The Sixth Sense up to After Earth.
Mm.
He's had other people since then, but up until that point, like he did like the big heavy hitters in the beginning as well. So I mean, those are
Hmm.
the soundtracks were always something that I enjoyed and would listen to outside of watching the movies as well because it's just I've always loved listening to uh, music scores and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed this movie when it came out and have since. I know it's probably in terms of the stuff that I would watch of his, it's lower, just because I would have tended to be more of a Sixth Sense Unbreakable person.
Mm.
Um, and so it's been a long time since I'd seen this movie. And also I've never been a big Joaquin Phoenix fan.
Hmm.
And so but he does okay in this movie. It's before he got weird. It I will admit it was harder to watch this now, because I don't think I've watched it since before all the fallout with Mel Gibson happened.
Mm. Mm.
So this was definitely like I rarely will revisit movies that I used to love of his, like the Lethal Weapon movies and stuff, because it's like, okay, this is like kind of taints them a little bit now. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it
I
does
can
remind it,
empathize.
yeah, but it did remind me of how great of an actor he really was.
Hmm.
And just that all that wasted talent, because that's what happens is when you come out like that and do stuff that is just you're going to taint your brand and people are going to turn on you, rightfully so.
Yeah.
um and so I've I've got no problem with going back and rewatching it. There's his performance is great.
Hmm.
Joaquin Phoenix is doing a good job. The kids are really good in it.
Yeah,
This is
gosh.
Abigail Breslin's first movie.
She's
And I even
amazing.
yeah, and I remember just from the jump from this, and I'm usually pretty nitpicky about kid actors.
Hmm.
Um, and these two both do pretty well, especially her. And
Right.
so she goes on to do a lot of stuff after this because she had a natural talent.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
I did think it was funny too because I saw on I think it was on IMDb somebody pointed out that three of the main cast are siblings to bigger, like to more prominent
Hmm.
older actors. Joaquin Phoenix, of course, was River Phoenix's younger brother. Rory
Hmm.
Culkin is Macaulay Culkin's brother, and Abigail Breslin is Spencer Breslin's little sister.
Hmm.
So, but I think Abigail and Spencer, I think of those two, Abigail actually became the more popular actor.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's this movie's got a lot going for it. This doesn't really have a twist so much, like the first two movies did of his. That I guess you could consider um a revelation at the end
Hmm.
to be a twist about the aliens.
Sure.
Um, I don't necessarily think it's a tremendous twist, and I do want to get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I just think all the actors are doing great, and the focus on the family instead of the outside world was interesting. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
the
go ahead.
oh no, I was like I hadn't quite thought about it that way. Like, hey, we're only focusing on this family. Like you do get some shots of the news and things
Right,
like that, and that's fine. But this really like zeroing in on this family really makes a difference, I think, of how you're interpreting the film. Like you're looking at how it affects this smaller group of people. What
right,
does this look like on a local level? And
right.
I really like that.
Well, and I thought it was interesting too because it's like it's really like what our perspective would be.
Hmm.
It's like, when if you're with your family and something is going on like this, that's exactly what it's going to be. You're not going to be going outside all that much. You're not going to be interacting with stuff. You're only going to get whatever news is on the television or on the radio or something like that. So it was very interesting with that because, like you said, we got some of the TV stuff, but it was only when they were watching the TV. It
Right.
never like went away to news footage or anything else like that. It was
Hmm.
like, okay, let's see what's going on. You get any exposition you got was because they were interacting with it directly. Um,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so, definitely a bold choice. Uh, but I think it worked. They spaced it out just enough. Um, and speaking of the news footage, there's a moment in this movie that really is it's a nice shock, uh like a kind of a jump scare.
Mm.
And I guess one of the things on there was like it's one of the best jump scares of the century or something like that.
Hmm.
And I remember it like when it first came out, and it was pretty like when watching it, I don't remember getting jump scared or anything, but definitely was like, oh, that's a really good shot. And I'm talking about the alien reveal in the Brazilian
Yes.
footage.
Yes.
Uh,
I remember the first time I watched that movie, sitting in my dad's recliner. This was one of those days where I was stuck at the house
yeah,
while school was out, and I watched that particular scene. And again, I did not like horror movies at this time, but I remember jumping back in the recliner and gasping like, "Whoa!" Like I didn't see it coming. So it really took me aback, and it was fun to revisit it now as a horror fan and still feel like this is effective. One of the things that is making this
Yeah.
effective now that I have a good quality sound system with my TV is hearing what the sound editing is doing on this film.
Yes.
This is something I have a DVD copy of, and getting to you know with the DVD copy, I really want to find like a higher quality a copy, but I can't complain at all about the sound mixing on here. This morning when I was rewatching, I was taking a sip of coffee, and the first time Houdini barks and growls at Bo, I definitely jumped and spilled my coffee. Even though like I've seen this movie more than 100 times, I'm
That's
sure.
funny.
I still jumped back when I heard it because it took me off guard, and I spilled coffee on myself. So anyway,
That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. No, it's still I everything about this film still works really well for me, no matter how many times I've seen it.
Right. Yeah, no, and the I think the main thing this story is like focused on isn't even about the alien invasion. It's the loss of faith
Mm.
by the main character who is a former Catholic
I'm assuming he was
I guess.
Anglican since he was
Yeah.
married. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, they
So
still
yeah,
wear the
so not
same collar,
yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. I think let me see. Um but yeah, so he was a former reverend father who led the local church, and everybody keeps calling him father still.
Hmm.
Um and I guess it's been 6 months they said since he um yeah, he's an Episcopal priest. That was what it was.
Mm. Mm.
And so he lost his faith after his wife died in a tragic accident involving the local um uh veterinarian who fell asleep at the wheel and ended up running into his wife who was walking on the side of the road. Um so he's dealing with all of that amidst all of this, and so he's lost his faith, and he's having a hard time believing in anything beyond anything revolving around God or faith or anything.
Hmm.
And so it's more about like that loss of faith, and I think finding hope um amongst this unknowable situation. um as a person who does not participate in religion himself, um I I don't connect directly with that. I know you are a person of faith,
Hmm.
and so it's I'm sure that we come at it from two different perspectives.
Sure.
um and but I still find it interesting too, because as much as I'm not a person of faith and everything like that, I don't discount um the wonders of the universe.
Mm.
And so I think I think I don't believe in just sheer coincidence.
Right.
So I mean there's too many things that happen that you can account to coincidence or just blind luck or whatever like that. But even still, I still find the fascination in those instances. So I will never count that out completely. Um, but I do find it like a fascinating like part of the story to um it adds that extra wrinkle, because if it was just a normal family dealing with it and everything like that, it'd be fine. But they're also dealing with this man, the person who is the head of the household, having this loss of faith and how it's all affecting them, because like I said, it's 6 months on from the death of his wife, the death of their mother. Um, and it's still hard.
Mm.
They're doing the best they can, but it's still hard. Um, and um, I think it's just really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, when he's laying out the lines of, are you a person who believes in signs and wonders? Uh, are you, do you, miracles?
Right.
Um, or, you know, when you see these lights, what do you think? Could be good, bad, could be good. Uh, I, I, you know, I, again, I am a person of faith. I do believe there are things that happen for a reason. But at the same time, like, that doesn't mean just because I can't explain something, uh, that, uh, doesn't mean I don't see things as, 50-50, could be bad, could be good. Even
Right.
even even if, ultimately these things might end up being a positive. And I think that's one of the things that this film really wrestles with, that tension really well. It's a really good exploration of grief. I know people who have lost their spouses, lost their partners, and I cannot fathom that.
Yeah.
I mean, we are human, we are finite. Eventually, either I'm going to experience that or my husband's going to experience that, you
Right.
know? Uh, but that um, that I can empathize with that kind of pain and how difficult that is. Uh, and so having that layer of grief, and then having to raise two small kids, um, and this idea of, Ray, the vet who struck, um, Graham's wife, Colleen, with his car by accident, and killed her. For one, that's played by M. Night. He
Yeah.
he always puts himself into his movies. Uh, but him talking about, like, this, it was like it was fate. Like, he
Yeah.
couldn't control it, he couldn't stop it, and it wasn't intentional.
Right.
But it was still like he felt like there was nothing he could have done.
Well, yeah, because he explains like, there was nobody on the road.
Mm,
He's never fallen asleep in the car before, and there
mhm,
was nobody on the road before or after, and for miles beforehand. And
mhm,
it having to fall asleep right then. Yeah, you would think, why? Like, what is the reasoning behind that? There's got to be some overarching reason behind it.
mhm,
So, yeah,
mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. And so I love that it wrestles with this dichotomy, and I think, the film, I think you get both sides of that really well, because you see
Yeah.
Graham, like, feeling completely lost, abandoned on his own after the passing of his wife, and now he's having to deal with all of this weird stuff.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah, and
but yeah,
that's got
go
to
ahead.
be crazy. Like 6 months, like literally six
Good
months has
grief.
barely any time has passed. 6 months is a blink, and especially when you're dealing with something like that.
Mm, mm,
And then this basically the end of the world, what you consider the end of the world is happening. It's like,
mm-hmm.
it's like I can't even imagine the what you would be thinking during that
Sure.
of any of that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then and then two, one of the things I really love, you know, watching this film now is the way that Graham protects his children by fortifying them with good stories.
Yeah.
Like telling them stories about their mother and what it was like when they were born, and it gives them hope. It gives them something to focus on, even when you know he and Meryl are trying to board up the doors to keep these aliens out. But then even with that, the when they go down into the basement and oh my gosh, what is Kieran Culkin's character's name? Like the
Well, it's Rory Culkin.
Rory. Yeah,
And
sorry,
then let's see. Morgan.
Morgan. Morgan's having his asthma attack, and the talking through him, talking with him through that asthma attack to try to get him to calm down and slow his breathing down. So, because they don't have his medicine, they can't stop it that way. Hearing that soliloquy, like, how much of that is a metaphor for what happens to us as adults when the world is crashing down on us and we feel lost, abandoned, uh, and we have to believe that it will pass. Like, I
Yeah.
cried. I have never cried in this movie. I wept like a little baby watching that scene the other day, just because I felt all of that in such a deeper way watching this
Yeah.
now than I did, as a senior in high school.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get emotional with this movie. I did with rewatching The Sixth Sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's a movie that I had watched a lot, and I definitely will agree that like getting older, um and especially if you have kids, sometimes these movies change things for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I originally watched The Sixth Sense when it came out, my son was only 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point I still didn't have the perspective or the experience for that I do now. And um like I just, yeah, there's movies that affect me more now than they did before. And so I totally understand. I'm on board with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been, yeah, this one didn't do that for me, but I did find it interesting the stories that he tells his kids about their births. Those are actually stories about Shyamalan's daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yes,
and their births. So I thought that was interesting.
I love that.
Um, yeah. So it definitely, shows that he's a good father. He does have a moment in the movie where it feels like he's turning into a bad father, but it's you can already tell that it is a sign. It's a moment of weakness, because everything is so stressful at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's right after this moment where he's a great father. He's like, we're all gonna have, our favorite things for dinner. This
Mm-hmm.
is a terrifying situation. We don't know what's gonna happen, but let's all have a great dinner with our favorite foods and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there that fear creeps back into all of them, and he breaks down, and they have this, cathartic, hug between all
Mm-hmm.
of them,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was funny too because he grabs his brother and drags him to him. It was a great little comedic bit right there, to kind of you know let some of the air out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, this movie's got a lot of weight to it, a lot going on in it. It's not just fluff. I think it's fascinating too because Shyamalan himself is doing these movies, like his first five movies, and I mentioned this on another episode. They're variations on like big um ideas. The first
Hmm.
one is his version of a ghost story. The
Right.
second, Unbreakable, is his version of the superhero slash just hero movie.
Hmm.
This one's about an alien invasion. Um, the Village is like a folk tale, and then Lady in the Water is a fairy tale.
Right.
And so I, it's so interesting to see him just take these um big kind of general ideas and put his own spin on them. And I think that's why he was as successful as he was there in the beginning, because these were, ideas that we all know, stories we all know,
Hmm.
but just with his own Shyamalan twist. That's the real twist all along, was just
Hmm.
him doing these movies, putting his own ideas into them. And I think that's great because he came at a time when um storytelling needed that, like especially filmmaking needed kind of that, or not needed, but storytelling for filmmaking was changing.
Right.
And I feel like, he helped kind of usher that change in. Um, yeah, I just this it, I these first few movies of his just are just wonderful. They're
Mm.
exciting and new and different, while being familiar. And I think that's a fascinating combination.
Yeah. Yeah. This, not only did this film like really influence like my aesthetics and things that I really love in filmmaking, um, it it kind of gets at at my heart about how I value and care for people. Um, it helps me kind of wrestle with questions of belief and faith, and I really love that about it. I also would say that it has my favorite line in any film ever. The conversation that Meryl has with Cunningham and Pritchard in the Army recruitment office,
Yeah.
where Lionel says, Merrill's a class A screw up. He would just swing that bat as hard as he could every time. Didn't matter what the coaches said, didn't matter who was on base. He would just whip that bat through the air as hard as he could. Looked like a lumberjack chopping down a tree. Merrill here has more strikeouts than any two players. And that it's also something said of Babe Ruth as well. It's like Babe Ruth has this insane home run record, but he also has more strikeouts than anybody else.
Right.
And Merrill says it felt wrong not to swing, and
Yeah.
that is how I approach life. Uh, I don't know how to do anything halfway. Uh, you know, Robert, you and I have both talked about having ADHD
Yeah.
well, fun fact, I officially got a diagnosis last month. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, after, years of being suspicious that I did had a failed attempt at getting diagnosed during COVID, and
Yeah.
it was a bad experience, but got the official diagnosis now.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Good.
it's like all of this makes sense. One of the things that my ADHD superpowers, as I like to call them, are hyperfocus, and
Yes.
I also struggle with emotional dysregulation. So I have big feels all the time. So
Okay.
if I find something that I really like, that I care about, I'm passionate about, I am all in. Like I can't do it halfway. That's the hyper focus. And if I love you, I really love you. Like, and I
Yeah.
mean it. And so this idea of giving anything less than my best, or at least trying, like or the idea of not trying is like intolerable to me. Like I may not be the best at something. I may not be um, good at it. I may, fail and fall on my face. But I'll be damned if I don't try.
Yeah,
And so whenever I hear that line, it just hits me in the heart because I know what it's like. To it feels wrong not to swing.
right.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that just, it goes back to you'll never get what you want if you don't try. And there's another line like that. It's just you you miss all the shots that you don't
mm-hmm,
take.
mm-hmm,
Sure, he missed a lot of shots, but he also had five minor league records,
mm,
which is crazy. Yeah, sure, he missed a lot, but he also when he hit big. And I think it's an interesting uh you know thing to talk about because it's yeah, no, there's a lot of in general, I think that a lot of people go through their life and just you know, they're okay with that. And I'm not gonna like poo on anybody who doesn't take the shots either.
mm-hmm.
Because that's totally your choice, you know. Um, but if you do take the shots, you gotta understand that you're gonna miss some of them sometimes.
Yeah.
So just understand that. But you might hit sometimes. And I think that, I've definitely I will say for my own life, I don't like I wouldn't say that I swing all that much.
Mm,
But I try. I do make some swings here and there. I've done, plenty of jobs, going back to the ADHD thing, I've done a
mm-hmm,
lot of jobs. And some of them have been jobs that I really want to do. I worked in a movie theater. I was a projectionist back when
mm,
they did film. Like a physical film. Now it's
mm-hmm,
all digital, which is fine. Like I think it's better that it's all digital now. Because when I was doing the physical films and stuff like that, and don't get me wrong, I think physical film is great too. um it was definitely a much harder job. Nowadays they don't need a projectionist. They totally got rid of that position.
mm-hmm,
um but that was something I did for a very short time, but I got to do it. And I that's one of those jobs that I can say I did. I worked at a video store for a little while. I love that job, but I only worked there for 2 months. um but yeah, I think that definitely it's definitely saying, in its way, to take the shot, do the thing, take the chances you can when you can. Um, but No, this movie's filled with like those kind of ideas and everything like that. It's not just about one thing, and I like that. It's not just about faith or the loss of faith, and or it's not just about taking the chances. It's a little bit about all of those things. It's about family. It's about, this big alien invasion and what
mm,
it means to them. It's about forgiving others for their mistakes, even if they are really bad mistakes. I mean, because
mm-hmm,
you have this sequence where um, you know, again, this is only 6 months later, but there's this moment where uh, Mel Gibson's character goes and talks to the man who accidentally killed his wife, and they have something of a reconciliation.
mm-hmm,
And it's fraught with all this other stuff going on. But they do, I think there is a moment of forgiveness there.
mm,
It's not explicitly said, but I do think that talking to him did help him move on a bit. Um, Not move on, but helped him understand and forgive.
mm-hmm,
Um, but at the same time, I don't think that they he was holding on to like any kind of like hate or anything in him for this man either. So I think it was just one of those things where neither one could talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's hard. Again, 6 months later, it's hard to talk about that and to talk to the person whose wife you accidentally killed. That would be hard. I don't think that I could talk to somebody if I did that,
Yeah. Gosh.
that's just that's horrible. Um, but yeah, no, this movie's just it's got so much weight to it. And like all of his movies do, there's always some kind of big question, big his movies are filled with big ideas. And I love that about that. His movies are not easy to digest, I think, because there's so much going on in them and they're filled with all these big ideas.
Mm,
And they definitely take multiple watches um and just kind of sitting with what they're telling you.
mm.
And I love that. I love that about his movies. And then, you know, bundle that in with the great cinematography and um the um the great score. James Newton Howard just again knocks it out of the park with this score. It's just fantastic.
Right.
Um
It
yeah.
gave me Psycho vibes, like
Yes.
with the racing strings, and I mean, you watch 30 seconds of an M Night movie, you know this man loves Hitchcock. Like, any M Night movie, period. So definitely see the influences there, but musically speaking, I think this really, it feels like Psycho. It feels like oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the man who composed
Bernard Herrmann.
Bernhard Herrmann. Thank you. I kept thinking Herman, but couldn't remember the first name. But yeah, hearing his work in other things too works. It works so well with this film because it's the racing strings get your heartbeat up, and like you realize, oh snap, something's happening. Then you get the boom, boom,
Yeah.
like, yeah, the pounding in there. Oh gosh, it works so well. Great score, James Newton Howard. Well done, well done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely agreed. Um Yeah, no, yeah, no, the score is just fantastic. Yeah, and the Psycho was definitely I read up on that was definitely an inspiration for the score.
Hmm.
The Birds was an
Oh yeah.
inspiration for um the actors. He Shyamalan had the actors watch The Birds multiple times during the filming of this. I guess to get the general
Mm,
vibe of it.
yeah. Ooh, the kid actors too. That's not terrifying at all.
I mean, I don't know if they were required to watch it.
Mm,
But um yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just this is such a fun, good movie. Um the ending, let's go ahead and jump to the ending. The revelation, they go down into the basement because the aliens are now like attacking and they're inside the house and they have this moment where they finally are safe inside. There's some tense moments down there where they're like where an alien almost gets through.
mm,
um but they're safe inside. And then they find out that most of the aliens have left. When they wake up the next day, they find out that the aliens have mostly left the planet now, that they've been repelled. And they go upstairs, and um, uh, as you mentioned earlier, Morgan had a bad asthma attack, um, and they were trying to get meds for him, and they all turned away. And um, when they turn back, one of the aliens has Morgan in his clutches. And you find out it's the same alien that Mel Gibson's character had previously encountered at the veterinarian's house.
Hmm.
Um, and he um this is when you get the last bit of backstory about when he talked to his wife for the final moment during her final moments. And it this is where it kind of not falls apart for me, but just doesn't add up as much. You know what I mean? It's like um just the whole water thing. They discovered that water hurts them. Um, which is just it's one of those things where it's like if and to be fair, maybe the aliens didn't realize water would hurt them this bad. But it was
Hmm.
always one of those questions, and I wasn't the only one who asked it, but it was like at the time everybody was asking, it's like, why would the aliens knowingly come to a planet that's covered by 70% of water when they know it's their vulnerability?
Hmm.
And maybe it was something in the water that was the problem,
Hmm.
not necessarily water itself.
Right.
So I'll give them that. But yeah, that part of it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, it doesn't add up quite right. But that aside, I don't think it takes away from the rest of the movie, and I think that's where I come to it is like with a lot of his movies, and maybe their twists aren't the best at times, I still appreciate what the rest of the movie was. And I think that's where it started to come down, where a lot of people were getting tired of his quote unquote twist endings.
Hmm.
Um, but like they would just dismiss the rest of the movie based on that ending. And it's like, okay, well, you can't, like, I get it. I get that. Dang, don't get me wrong. I've had the same thing where like one bad part of a movie will
Hmm.
kind of taint the rest of the movie for me. But I would generally say most of the rest of the movie is well done enough that a weak ending will be okay. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not going to stick the landing.
And for me, I would argue that this movie isn't about a twist. This
Exactly.
this is a film that is about wrestling with faith and belief. It's about wrestling with grief. It is about persevering even when it feels impossible or you'd rather lay down and die. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, uh, and the way that Graham, you know, ultimately wrestles with, this horrible thing that his son's, chronic asthma that, that he's had to deal with his whole life. That is the very thing that saved his life.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that is crazy. And then you have Meryl who has the strikeout record, but he hits here where it counts. Where you have Bo who cannot finish a glass of water and leaves
Right.
half drank glasses of water all over the house. And that's basically a field of landmines to these aliens, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, all of these little things that are weird or quirky or perceived as bad or as faults, that is ultimately what saves the day at the end of this film. And I think that is beautiful. This is such a well executed, beautifully shot, beautifully done film. I also love that you never get a really great look at the alien.
Right.
And that was one thing I noticed. I mean, I would love to get like a Blu-ray copy of this, see how the upscale helps. I'm pretty sure the DVD copy I have must be from like early mid 2000s because I mean it's not like some of those where the picture resolution is smaller than the TV is now, but it's it's still it's noticeably not as good quality as streaming or whatever.
Yeah.
But still, like, I love now that I'm watching this on a giant TV, like that's twice the size of any TV I ever had growing up,
Oh
or
yeah.
bigger. And I still like all shots of the alien are still semi-obscured. You're only getting reflections and mirror images of the alien, and I adore that. Like that
Yeah.
that gave me a flavor for monster and shadow. That's why that's like my favorite horror trope is I love not getting a good look at the monster because whatever I can imagine is way scarier than whatever I could see on screen. I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I
Anyway.
agree with you. I did recently get the 4K version of Signs. I've been it only just came out not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's definitely they've upgraded. There's still a couple of his that haven't hit 4K. Everything um The Visit just came out on 4K as well.
I
Um
still haven't gotten to see the visit.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Nice.
Kino Lorber just put out the 4K of that. But there'd
Noted,
been
noted.
4K of everything from Split onward.
Mm,
And then they were going backward and doing all of the other movies. They just did The Sixth Sense. Unbreakable had been out for a while on 4K, but then they just put out Sixth Sense and Signs.
hmm.
And I've heard that The Village is getting a 4K release at some point, but they're probably still working on it.
Sure.
And I hope we'll get a 4K of Lady in the Water as well. Um, and then my collection will be complete. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, so I just need those last two. But yeah, no, I definitely I will admit I didn't actually put in the 4K disc. I just watched the 4K, the quote unquote 4K version that I got on digital when I got the
Mm,
disc. So I always redeem my stuff because it's just easier to watch it on digital
hmm.
rather than getting up, going over, putting it in, and all that. Um, I could just pop it up on the screen.
Sure.
But it was yeah, it was really good. Definitely, yeah, definitely better than the last time I had seen it for sure on probably DVD on a much smaller television because I have a 55-inch in here.
Mm,
Nothing crazy big or anything, but
hmm.
compared to a 32-inch, it's definitely a huge difference. It was crazy too because we didn't even upgrade it until it would have to be, I think during the pandemic, we finally upgraded from a 32 inch. We'd have had just a tiny little 32-inch in the living room for years.
Hmm.
Um, and we finally upgraded, and it was like night and day the difference. Now I'm like, oh, this 55-inch is too small. I need a bigger TV. Um,
Right.
but but I don't. 55 inches is perfect. It's actually I love it. It works from where I sit in my room here to where it is. It's like being at the theater. So and I've got it's not a high-end surround sound system, but it's good enough.
Hmm.
I have a Roku sound system.
Mm,
Um and so I get all the side sounds and everything like that. So
nice.
I
Love
love
that.
that.
Me
Yeah.
too.
So it's really nice to get that you not not the super in depth coming from the ceilings sounds and stuff like that, but it works well enough for me.
Mm,
Um, so I can see, and this is the thing, I can see why people are starting to not go to the theaters. When you can get a decent sized TV with good clarity and everything like with 4K resolution and then get a decent surround sound system, why go to the theater as much as you used to? So
right.
I still go often. I'm going tonight. But it's definitely I can see where people have gotten away from it. But
Sure.
that aside, but yeah, no, this movie looks great on the higher resolution on a better TV for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, yeah. Speaking of the aliens, yeah, you don't really get a good look at them. I think that was hugely intentional.
Oh, sure.
Because they are definitely for multiple reasons. One, it heightens the suspense, and two, because they're CG. Um, the CGI at the time wasn't the best. And so I think that was part of part of covering up for that was so that they could not worry about having to show them too much and see the seams, I guess.
Oh yeah, and M Night anyway is a bigger fan of practical effects versus CGI, and so he uses CGI sparingly
Yeah.
in most of his works. So, but yeah, this it works super well for this film. Uh, can't say enough good things about it. I mean, there's a reason it is my third favorite film of all
Yeah.
time, and it's because it really informed my aesthetics in film. It also informed like how I interpret movies. It makes me wrestle with good questions, and yeah, I think the movie is now 23 years old.
Yeah.
I think it still works. I think it still works well.
No, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. No, it definitely still works. And it's a great thing. One little last bit of trivia that I found interesting too was we
Hmm.
Joaquin Phoenix almost wasn't in this movie. Because actually the original actor had to step away from it. Mark Ruffalo was originally cast in
Yeah.
the role. But that, if anybody knows about Mark Ruffalo, there was a moment where he had to have a brain tumor removed.
Hmm.
Uh, this was that moment. He was cast and then had to have this benign brain tumor removed. And this is the movie he was about to do, and had to step away to do that. So yeah, we could have had a much different movie with this with that casting. And I don't think Mark Ruffalo was well known at the time at all.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm trying to remember like first the first time I recognized Mark Ruffalo in a film, and I'm pretty sure it was maybe like a year or two after this in 13 going on 30.
yeah, that's exactly what I think that was the first time I saw him. It's 13 going on
Yeah.
30. Yeah,
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's amazing. But he's been acting since like the late 80s, so
Yeah, which is crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's for somebody who's been around that long, it's he's it's interesting to see it for any actor, it's interesting to see when people's like fame takes off. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, he's definitely a good actor. It would have definitely been an interesting role for him. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I would
but
be curious to know if there was any test footage or whatever,
yeah,
or at what stage did he have to back out of the film because of the brain tumor?
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
curious if any footage of him as Meryl exists.
Yeah.
This was my introduction to Joaquin Phoenix, so
Okay.
I haven't seen a ton of his other work. Um, so, I mean, I think he's a good actor. He's definitely quirky,
Yeah.
quirky and weird. So, uh, but I've not watched a ton of his other stuff. So I'm curious if you know, curious to see how his more modern stuff stacks up against this because I love him in this. I think he's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I think he's doing a good job in this. I had um originally seen him. There's a 80s movie called Space Camp, where when he's
yeah.
young, much younger, that
I
he's
remember
in.
Space Camp. I watched
Yeah.
that at school.
But yeah, he's in that as well. He's Max, the young kid that goes up with them. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so but that's all I have for this episode. Is there anything that we didn't mention that you wanted to talk about before we close up?
No, I think this is a great film, guys. If you are listening this to this and you for whatever reason you've not watched Signs, give it a shot. Give it a
Oh
shot.
yeah,
It might
definitely.
surprise you. But I think it holds up, and It's one I'm happy to revisit anytime. And if if you're listening to this because you're into the geeky and not the creepy, uh, I would say this is a film that you can watch if you don't like horror movies. It's
Oh
a film
yeah.
that you can watch if you do like horror movies. It's definitely a thrilling and exciting. It's got some good jump scares, but you're not going to have nightmares afterwards, theoretically
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a friend who would argue with me on that, but she really doesn't like horror at all.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's I think it's a film that holds up over time and
Oh yeah.
has a sort of timeless quality to it. So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think in general most of his movies have that timeless quality about
mhm,
them. So,
yeah.
yeah, no. I agree completely. Um, but yeah, everybody should go check out this movie at least once, even if you don't, dig on it afterward. That's fine. I get it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But definitely, I think it deserves one watch, at
Hmm.
the very least.
Yeah,
So, all right. Well,
cool.
thank you again for coming on and talking about this movie with me. I
Oh
very much
gosh.
appreciate it.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for having me back on the show. I always enjoy getting to guest on Creepy and Geeky. So,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we will get you on again soon, I'm sure. And until then, stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.